What's up, everyone? Welcome to Mythic Conversations. Wednesday night, you know where you need to be, right here on YouTube, streaming live for the weekly Mythic Legions show. Sorry, Joe R. There will be no customs tonight shown with an old man Hawkeye head. I'm apparently the only person that doesn't own that figure, so I cannot use it in a custom even if I wanted to. Thank you all for joining me. Those who join every single week, those who join live, those who are catching this on replay, or certainly those who are watching for the first time. Welcome to Mythic Conversations. My name is Jeremy Gerard. I'm a Mythic Legions collector and customizer. I also have the distinct privilege of being the digital marketing manager for Four Horsemen Studios and the webmaster at sourcehorseman.com. All the content that you see there around Four Horsemen Studios and Mythic Legions is content that I help bring. If you want to see more of my work and my customs, you can certainly check me out on Instagram. It's at Mythic Customs, all one word, or check out my website, www.mythiccustoms.com. Tonight, like every week, we're going to focus on some Mythic Legions news. We're going to talk about what's been going on in the world of Mythic Legions, but tonight's a very, very special show because tonight is all about LegionsShop. If you check out this show every single week, you've heard me talk about LegionsShop quite a few times over the past few months. The reality is, we thought LegionsShop was going to be open quite some time ago, but we are finally here. We are finally ready for our grand opening this coming Saturday. I'm going to talk more about that, but what we're going to do tonight is we're going to step back for a minute. I really want to look at the amazing work that the artists that have decided to partner with LegionsShop are bringing to the table. Through the, previous months on this show, I've shown a lot of these parts kind of one at a time, but tonight is all about celebrating them and their work. We're going to look at all of the great stuff. I say all, I don't have all of it on the table behind me. I've got pictures of all of it. I've got some of it on the table behind me. We're going to look at all of those things. We're going to talk about the artists. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the behind the scenes things that have happened to lead us here and why it's taken what it has to get to this grand opening. I'm super, super excited for tonight. Super excited for LegionsShop. Let's do it, right? So thank you, everyone, like I said, who is joining. Love to have you here. It is called Mythic Conversations for a reason. Hit me up in the chat if you have any questions. I will do my best to answer them. Last few weeks have been weird. We've had a few technical problems the last few weeks, which has been weird because we've had a pretty smooth run on YouTube, knock on wood here. So hopefully tonight we'll go off without a hitch and we will be able to have a good issue problem-free show. Let's see. Yeah, no questions yet. Most people just saying hello. Hello. So obviously the big thing that continues to be going on in the world of Mythic Legions are the in-stock sales. If you remember week one of the in-stock, that was really kind of All-Stars 3. Went pretty smooth. Most of all the figures were there through the first 30 minutes. You could go on. A couple of the figures lasted longer than that, but people seemed to be pretty comfortable. They got what they wanted. And I said last week, don't get lulled into a false sense of security. Subsequent weeks are going to be, more challenging. I'll be honest, I had no idea it would be as crazy as it was. Now, I don't want to spend a ton of time on the in-stock sale, but as kind of an ambassador for Mythic Legions, as someone who knows about stuff and who has a direct hand in things like this, I do want to address a few points and a little bit about what's been going on in the Mythic Legions community, because I love the Mythic Legions community. It's wonderful, but it's not perfect. No community is. So I do want to address a few things that I've had on my mind, and it's my show, so I get to do that. Number one, when people post things, whether it's right or wrong, they tend to have a life of their own. So I try to dispute things that are just blatantly false, starting with bots. Bots and scalpers have kind of become like the boogeymen for toy collectors. And I know that they both exist. I'm not saying that there's no such thing as scalpers or bots, but they're not the cause of every toy collecting problem. And certainly in this case, it was neither of them. We had everything set. This was the first week that we did limit purchases to one of each item per person. Okay, so if you could get multiple in your cart and check out, you were fine as long as they were different characters. One per person, the system was set to do that. Other than that, we also had, we looked through all of the orders. We wanted to make sure, number one, that there was no funny business, that there was no evidence that these were bots. We wanted to make sure, number two, that there was no evidence. We couldn't find anybody that had ordered multiples. Neither of those were the case. Chris literally spent his time and went through every single order to make sure there was no funny business. This was not a sale like Exodus. Like, this was a limited amount of figures, but it was not Exodus. Exodus, there were figures that were quantity one. Most of the figures in Exodus were single-digit quantities. This was not that. There were cases of these figures that were put up. The reality is Mythic Legions is really, really popular. There's lots of people vying for these figures, and they went really, really fast. A lot faster than we expected, certainly. Some of the things that I pointed out to people, because people were disappointed. I totally get that. I'm going to address that in a moment. One of the things I mentioned was all the figures that were in this past week's in-stock sale will be back in the future. And someone asked a good question, and they said, well, wait a minute. If you have more quantity of these figures, why didn't you put them all up at once? Obviously, some people have wished that they've expressed their wish that this wouldn't be a weekly sale, that this would just be everything all at once. And I addressed that a little bit last week. The reality is, one of the main reasons that they are splitting this up and only doing so much on any given week. Part of it is so they can turn these around quickly and get those orders processed and shipped very fast. Obviously, tons of orders makes that a lot harder to do. But number two, there are people that last week may not have been good for them. They may not have been able, for whatever reason, to join the sale, to make a purchase. If every Hagnon figure that's left in stock was all put for sale last week, they would totally be shut out of the possibility of getting Hagnon at all. So that's part of the thought process in terms of splitting these up across different weeks. The reality is, no matter what is decided, it's going to work better for some people than others. At the end of the day, they're genuinely trying to do something to bring these figures out, to get them out to fans in a way that is going to be interesting and fun. And again, it's no different than if they were doing a toy show and they were bringing a limited amount of cases to the toy show and putting them on the table. One thing I did want to address is the way, actually, before I get to the community, one thing that people have been reporting, and I just thought of this because someone said Shop Pay screwed me. I have noticed this. There are times where something happens and I don't know that it's Shopify, the platform. I actually think it's a combination of Shopify and like Google Pay. I think it's actually Google checkout, the way it's working. I've seen where you make a purchase like the Alithia Wave, and then when you go back, the Alithia Wave is still inside of your shopping cart, which is clearly a problem. I've talked to Shopify about it. That's what they've identified. We're still looking into it, but my suggestion for you is, before this week, before the sale on Friday, go in, make sure your cart is empty, clear it all out. It definitely helps to clear your browser cache, to clear your cookies. Just get that stuff all out of there so you have a nice clean cart. That seems to work. So hopefully that'll help. Regarding the community, and then I want to move on because, again, I don't want to spend a ton of time on this. Obviously, when something goes this fast, people are going to be disappointed. Some people are going to miss out. That sucks. I totally get it. And I absolutely understand. I've long said, look, in-stock sales are nice extras. You shouldn't be using in-stock sales to try to get figures for your collection. Like if you miss a wave and you're trying to get that whole wave in the in-stock, you're doing it wrong. And then someone pointed out something to me that was really, really important that I had never really considered. A lot of these fans that are trying to get in right now, they weren't around during those previous sales. They weren't around during the pre-orders. Hagnon, I just mentioned, was an Advent of Decay figure. Advent of Decay was years ago. If you've come into the line in the last year or so, you did not ever have a chance to buy Hagnon as a pre-order. Now, granted, Hagnon was at Big Bad Toy Store for $50 for quite some time. But it made me start to think that, you know what? Yeah, Mythic Legions is a line that you've got to embrace the pre-orders. But if you weren't around during the pre-orders, I totally do get that this is your best chance to get them. All I can say is the studio is doing what they can to try to get these out there. I understand your disappointment. Hopefully you'll fare better in a subsequent week. My suggestion is absolutely when you see the figures, grab one, put it in your cart and check out. The more you go back and try to get, the less likely you're going to get any of them because they do go very, very fast. The last thing I want to point out here is regarding those new fans that are upset and disappointed. That I get. But the one thing that I did also see that I didn't like at all was seeing some like some line veterans, some people who have been around in the line for a really long time, just quite frankly being jerks. A lot of this I'm talking about is the Mythic Legions Cabal. Mythic Legions Cabal is a wonderful community. It is not the entire Mythic Legions community. It's a subset of it, certainly. But on the Cabal, there was definitely a challenge with fans being disappointed, a lot of new fans being disappointed, and a lot of, group veterans who probably already have all these figures being very, not only not really wanting to hear it, but just kind of being a bit abusive. I just want to say, cut it out. That sucks. Don't do that. Everyone who has come into this line was new at some point, and somebody helped you out. It might have been me. I get a lot of people that reach out to me and say, thank you for all you do for this community. Thank you for everything you do for this line. And I appreciate that feedback. I appreciate that appreciation. But the best thing you can do is, take my example to heart and maybe try to do some of that yourself as well. Trust me, I know a lot of people are like, the same questions over and over. Seriously, if you saw my messenger, if you saw Walter Hagen's messenger, you would be blown away. We get so many messages. We try to answer every one of them very, very nicely, very politely, because you know what? A toy line that doesn't have new people coming in is a toy line that's about to die. If you want Mythic Legions to grow, if you want more figures, if you want that 3-foot dragon we've all been promised, that is all dependent on this line continuing to grow, this line continuing to bring new fans in. And I will tell you, as someone who is an advocate for this line, who is an ambassador, I've had a lot of people come into this line and say, hey, I heard what a great community it is. But then when they see some of this bickering, and more importantly, they see people who are veterans who are posting things that are hurtful, memes that are just unnecessary. You don't need to do that. It's not funny. So I'm making a plea right now to think about this community as a whole, think about these new fans. And you know what? You think that they're whining that they don't need to be? Keep scrolling. You don't need to read it. but you also don't need to go and download a meme and post something hurtful. Unnecessary. I will say that I loved seeing the response from some other people in the Cabal, where all of those Cabal members were like, look, let's get this positive again. Let's change the vibe. People were doing giveaways. People were doing all kinds of awesome stuff. Anthony Hausil, who's on tonight from the Toy Forge, posted something saying, look, I'm putting myself out there as a board veteran. Anybody that wants to talk Legions, that's new, that has questions, reach out to me, and any other board veterans, group veterans that want to throw their hat in the ring to offer the same, please do so. And a bunch of people posted, hey, hit me up anytime you want. I'd love to talk Legions. I'd love to introduce, answer questions for the new people if you're afraid to post those questions publicly. That is what the Cabal is all about. That is what the Mythic Legions community is about. So if you hear me talking right now, I'm going to be very, very blunt. If you hear me talking and you think I'm talking about you, think about what you're doing, because it's bullshit. Oh, excuse me. Tony, if you're listening, I'm sorry. Cover your ears. This community needs to grow. And acting like a jerk to new people, acting like a jerk to anybody is unnecessary. That's all I'm going to say about that. This Friday, 3 p.m., another in-stock sale. It's probably going to go just as fast, okay? The figures that are offered are pretty darn cool. People are going to be excited. There's, again, it's not single digits. There's cases of these things, but they're going to go fast. So get in, see what you want, get checked out. Awesome. On that note, I'm going to talk about Mythic Legions. I'm going to talk about LegionsShop. But before I do, I'm going to mix it up a little bit tonight. I'm getting crazy. Usually, lately, what I've been doing is I've been doing news, then I do the topic at hand, and then I talk about an old Mythic Legions figure. I'm going to mix it up tonight. I'm going to talk about that Mythic Legions figure first before I get into LegionsShop. But even before that, I'm going to look at some of the comments here. So we got Ray here. Ray saying, I'm one of those brand new people, hopefully getting a few this Friday. Only have about 6 to 7 in the collection. Ray, welcome to the Mythic Legions line. We are thrilled to have you here. Once again, my suggestion is if you want to walk away this week with something, find an item, get it in your cart, check out. Maybe you can grab 2. But the more you grab, the harder it is to get out before those things sell out. So do what you think is best. A bunch of comments on the Toy Forge. Yep. Says it doesn't sting as bad since we should have the Aether Wave in stock in the next couple of months. The Aether Wave will be in stock probably in the next couple of weeks. Not next couple months, next couple weeks. So excited. I'm so pumped for those figures. Oh my goodness. I cannot wait. Yeah. When Aether comes in, game changer. Trust me, people are going to be so excited. Yeah. Anthony saying, I had a great conversation with Richard Hendricks this weekend. Love the new guys. Yeah, dude. Seriously. There's so much to like. I've met so many wonderful people in this community, and I'm not done yet. I still got a lot of love to give. I got a lot of people to meet. Carrison, shout out to all the Mythic vets that offered giveaways after the in-stock sale and everyone else that's done prior to it as well. It is amazing. I've been a part of so many toy communities and groups over the years. The Cabal, I mean, the Mythic Legions community is unique, but the Cabal itself is incredible. The kind of camaraderie there. It's not perfect. I'm never, ever going to say it's perfect. It's definitely had growing pains as it's gotten bigger. Those who complain about it, if you had any idea how hard Walter and Elliot and Michael, the admins, work. I'm an admin too. I'm going to admit I do way less than those guys do. They work way, way harder than me. I just get to come up there every once in a while and hopefully kind of reset the vibe a little bit like I tried to do this weekend. But those guys are the true heroes. Trust me. Awesome. So the figure that I want to talk about tonight is one that actually was in Mythic Legions 1.0, and then he became an all-star. But he became an all-star in the first series. And it wasn't because he was voted by the fans. The first 2 all-stars waves were not voted on by the fans. They were actually, I make a mistake. The second one was voted. I just didn't have anything to do with it, so who cares? Kidding. The first one was the one that wasn't voted on by fans. It was selected by the Four Horsemen. And they made a wave that was some figures that had sold really, really well, but people, now that they had them in hands, wanted more of, like the Barbarian Builder and Asterion the Minotaur. Those were figures that sold really, really well in 1.0, but there were still more people that wanted them, especially that Barbarian Builder. But there was a couple other figures that were actually ordered in very, very small numbers during the 1.0 Kickstarter. But when people got them in hand, they were blown away, and they absolutely started showing pictures, and people who had skipped them were saying, I need to get one of those figures. But because they had been so under-ordered, there were none to go around, right? This is one of those figures. This is Sir Ignatius. So Sir Ignatius comes with this awesome pearlescent type armor. It's a gorgeous figure, and I will be honest, the original photos of this figure did not capture how beautiful the armor actually was. This is exactly what I mean. This figure and the Green Dwarf Orange Steelhide were two figures that looked so much better in hand than the original promo photo. So this was one that was added to All Stars because of how good it actually looked and people wanted it. This exact same pearlescent armor was later used in the Advent of Decay wave on the Angel Gadriel. So if you have both of those figures, they work really, really well together. I actually have that Gadriel figure, and I don't display it actually as the Angel. I've used the wings on something else. I actually messed around with that a little bit, and I display it as a bit of a cleric, and the cleric next to Sir Ignatius, both part of Order of Etheron in my version of Mythos. They look so, so wonderful together. Hard figure to find today, even though he was an all-star. That's one of the things with the all-star, those early all-star waves, is even though they were re-released, the combination of the original series quantity and the all-star series probably is less than what some of the figures are being produced in today. The community has grown exponentially. It has grown so much more. So these newer figures from Arethyr, from Alithia, and so forth, those are being produced at much larger number than these. If this is one you can get your hands on, I absolutely encourage you to do so. It is just a gorgeous, gorgeous figure. Only came with the one head. Back then, not all the figures came with two heads, so it only came with the one. It's a repaint of what I always refer to as the Gorgo helmet. I know they've used this style helmet on a number of figures. To me, because I first saw it on Gorgo, that's what I call it. Evil Knight helmet sometimes, but I call it the Gorgo helmet. But instead of having the antlers like Gorgo has, or even like the bat wings like Rhaegar has, this has these gold like eagle type wings. Absolutely gorgeous. I've also used this body in the past for customs. Throw some wings on this and it makes a wonderful base for like an angelic warrior type custom. This pearlescent armor just works great for that. So really, really cool figure. I think I do have his bio here. If you want me to read his bio off, I would be happy to do so. Let's see. So it says, as one of the few remaining knights from the Order of Etheron's muddied past, Sir Ignatius's absolute faith is a source of inspiration for his brothers in arms. Once a denouncer of the Order and its flawed ways, he was an integral part of the Order's reformation and Sir Gideon's rise to leadership. After so many years of frustration with the very institution that he swore to serve, Sir Ignatius is finally at peace with himself as a warrior in this time of great unrest. So clearly a member of the Order of Etheron. Seems like, there's some stuff, if you read the bios, if you read the lore, there's obviously been some discord in the Order of Etheron. It sounds like he's one of the old guards that was around, kind of backed away because he disagreed with it, and now he's back and he's part of the rebuilding of that faction. So very, very cool. Absolutely love it. Anthony saying, Travis is the only person I want to hear read the bios. I'm sorry. I am totally biting Travis's stuff, but it was relevant for the show as well. So with that, let's move on to talk a little bit about LegionsShop. Yes. Okay. Awesome. I can't even remember how long ago it was now that we started talking about LegionsShop, that I started presenting it like here on the show. I remember how it started, obviously. LegionsShop, for those that don't know, LegionsShop is a new online store, online Legions marketplace that is co-owned by myself and my partner, Joe Viteri, Joe Lord Viteris Viteri. Joe and I are the team that created Legions Con. So we created Legions Con, which is, as it sounds, a con dedicated to Legions and Four Horsemen Studios. We ran the first Legions Con in 2019, and then we did another one. Last year's had to be virtual, obviously. We did another one last year in 2020, and it was really, really successful. We had a great time, and shortly after Legions Con wrapped up, Joe reached out to me and he said, Jeremy, how do we build on this? What's next? And I said, I don't know, Joe. What are you thinking? And he said, I really want to create a store. I want to create an online store that offers Legion stuff. And I said, well, okay, there's already a lot to do that. We've already got, obviously there's Store Horseman, which is the primary place to buy Mythic Legions. But then from a reseller standpoint, you've got Big Bad Toy Store and Mallfish. And there's so many out there, Empire Toy Shop. And there's so many out there, and there's more retailers coming on all the time. Joe was already a retailer. Joe has been buying these and selling these for quite some time, but he never had an online store. Joe is in charge. Joe runs a number of pop culture shows in the New Jersey area, including ToyCon New Jersey, which is where Legions Con was associated with in 2019. So Joe said, well, no, I don't want to just do a shop. I want to do a shop kind of like what we did with Legions Con, where Legions Con brings together all different members of the Mythic Legions community. Yeah, obviously Four Horsemen Studios, but it also brings together the customizers, the diorama makers, the painters, the artists, and of course the fans, the 3D printers, everybody. He said, I want to do something like that. And, it was at this time that I'd obviously been working with Wolf King Customs, doing a lot of, parts that I helped create. And I was seeing more and more creators wanting to get into this market, wanting to do this. But one of the challenges that I saw out there were a lot of small shops. Like you have your big ones, right? You've got your My Action Figure Customs, your Wolf King Customs, Von Burke, Planetary Dog. You have these larger shops that have large arrays of items. And those are great because you can go on and you can buy multiple things and kind of maximize your shipping. But I was seeing a lot of providers that were either only selling, directly on the Cabal or on eBay, or they had one item to sell. And if you wanted that one item, it was like $12 for shipping, like one head. And it was challenging. So we said, you know what, it would be great to create this place where Mythic Legions fans had access to work from all these different artists. And artists who may want to create, but don't want to deal with the business side of things. They don't want to deal with maintaining the online store, with processing orders, shipping orders, doing the accounting, all of the customer service. There's a lot that goes in to actually running the business. Wouldn't it be great if we created this store that did that for them, that brought it all together? And that is how LegionsShop started. The first thing we did was we decided what we wanted to offer. Actually, the first thing we did was reach out to the Four Horsemen and say, hey, are you guys cool with us doing this? And oddly enough, they were like, you know what? We were thinking about doing something similar. We were thinking that we really need a way to bring some of this stuff together. And we love the fact that it's going to be run by you and Joe. Obviously, I work with the studio already. Joe is a trusted friend of the studio, helps promote the shows and everything. So it was a really good fit. And it gave me another opportunity to work alongside Joe. Really, really like it. We started by reaching out to some artists and we said, we need to set standards for what we will sell and what we won't sell. It's got to be original. That's really what we wanted here. We didn't want things that were clearly ripping off like another IP. We're creators ourselves. We have a ton of respect for the Four Horsemen and themselves as creators. So we didn't want people that were creating things that were, like I said, an unlicensed copy of something. We wanted original pieces. There are a number of, like, for instance, 3D printing resources out there that you can download files for free. And it's awesome. If you want to do that for yourself, if you want to do that to test, I think that's great. But we did not want to do that on the shop. We wanted it to be things that these artists had created, and we wanted them to be unique to LegionsShop. We did not want to compete with these other artists and with their online endeavors, because some of the artists for LegionsShop we knew were going to sell probably only at LegionsShop. Others were going to have their own websites and stuff like that. I mentioned Wolf King Customs. I mentioned Von Berg Studios. Those are two providers that are working very, very closely with LegionsShop. They have very successful online stores. We knew we weren't going to replace that, but what we want to do is set standards to say, like, hey, if you sell it in your shop, we don't want to sell it in ours. We want everything that you do through LegionsShop to be an exclusive. And that has worked really well so far. So that was step number one. Reach out to the artists, and we got some great, great people on board. And then the work began, because dealing with all these different artists, the reality is almost everyone involved in LegionsShop in any fashion, this is not their full-time job. It's not my full-time job. It's not Joe's full-time job. And most of the artists that we work with, it is not their full-time job. So this wasn't something that they could drop everything and just start producing product for, because that was the first step, right? The first step was saying, okay, what do you got for product? What do you got for ideas? Let's look at it. Let's look at samples. Is this going to make sense for LegionsShop? Do we think this is a good piece? Across the board, the answer was always yes, because the artists that we partnered with were freaking awesome, and they had really, really cool ideas, really great ideas. But it took some time to get that product created, to get that product printed, or in the case of like Struck Family Crafts and Soft Goods, to get those things sewn and actually put together. It has taken a really, really long time, but we are finally here, and we are super, super excited. So what I want to do tonight is take you through some of the offerings and give you some information about what you need to expect from LegionsShop. And at the end of the show, I'll actually show you some sneak peeks of things that won't be available at LegionsShop this Saturday, but will be coming in the near future. These are things that haven't been shown anywhere before. You're going to see them here first tonight. Awesome. All right. So really quickly, things you need to know. LegionsShop opens this coming Saturday. And let me bring up my little promo screen here so you're not just looking at me. I have so much to share tonight that I've got to find actually what file it is. And here it is. Okay. So LegionsShop opens this Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern time. Okay, so 3 p.m. Eastern time, we will open the doors. That is our grand opening. Now, actually, the store is open right now. So the store is open. We started selling pre-orders on the Alithia Wave, weeks ago when that first got opened up to the retailers. We started selling that. And by the way, everyone that has turned to LegionsShop for their Alithia pre-order needs, thank you so much. You are awesome. We greatly appreciate it. Last week, we did something fun. We sent out, I've been telling people for weeks, if you're not subscribed to our newsletter, you really want to do that. We sent out a newsletter just to our early subscribers, just to the people that were subscribed, and we told them that we had a very special, we called it a Grail sale, that was going to be hitting the website. what we did was, one of the things we do at Legion Shop is we buy collections, okay? We know that there are a lot of Legions fans that want access to these figures, but they want to buy them from someone they trust. Some of these figures that are $200, it can get a little scary buying that on, like, Facebook or even on eBay sometimes if you don't know what to expect. So Joe and I have bought collections over the years. We continue to do so. We bought some collections specifically for Legion Shop. The plus side was it got us some really, really hard to find stuff in stock that we could make available to Legions fans. The downside is it was darn expensive. Some of these items were in the $200 range, and a lot of them we were making like 20 bucks on. So it definitely cost us quite a bit of money, but we felt, and we debated whether we should do that because, we don't want to come across like, we don't want to be scalpers. Okay. But the reality is these things did cost us quite a bit to get in stock. A number of fans, once they figured it out, they were excited to get their hands on those. Thank you to everyone that has purchased those as well. So I say that because the shop has been open. But this particular week, this Saturday, is when we have what we call our grand opening, because that is when the bulk of what we plan to offer, all of these third-party custom creations, 3D printed heads, diorama pieces, accessories, soft goods, etc., they are all going to be available. Okay, that is what happened Saturday. Now, here's something that you really do need to know. These items are all in stock. So unlike a lot of the other companies out there that do things on the pre-order model, where they say, okay, we're going to be open for a week, place your order, and then we're going to actually produce the items. All of these are in stock in our warehouse right now. So the great thing is if you order something, it's going to ship within a couple days and you will have it in hand. That's awesome. The downside to that is we only have a limited number in stock. So if it sells out, things will sell out. There are going to be some items that I know are going to sell very, very fast. So once again, you do want to get in there. Greg is asking a wonderful question. Are the items at Legion Shop evergreen, or is there a limited amount of items? So yes to both. There are a limited amount of items for this first run, but all of these are evergreen. None of the items that we plan on selling right now are going to be items that if you miss it this week, you won't have access to them. If you miss something this week, and this is very important, if you miss something this week and it goes on back order, the first thing we're going to do is reach out to the artist and say, this was super popular. It sold out really, really fast. We need more. And they're going to go hard to work making more for us, and we will add it back to the website. That's one of the cool things about Legion Shop is instead of it being those processes where it's like every month or so, we do a big sale, a bunch of new items, and then we close it down, print them all, ship them out, and then do another big sale. Everything at Legion Shop is going to be evergreen. We're going to constantly be restocking it, and we're going to be adding new stuff over time. So there's always going to be new things to see. Now, I say evergreen. Obviously, down the road, if something has been around for a while and it stops selling, we may retire it. We may, not offer it for a little while. But the plan initially at front is to make things evergreen. So if you do miss something, literally, you do not need to get bummed. You do not need to freak out. You don't need to pay secondary market prices on any of the products we are selling. We are going to get it back in there for you. So here's a question that's not really relevant to this, but why is the Four Horsemen brand not more well known amongst casual toy collectors? I feel they're up there with the big dogs, but I never heard of them till Mythics. How long they've been around and how? Not sure 100% what you're asking. I think what you're asking is why don't more people know Four Horsemen Studios? I think a lot of people do, but they don't even realize how much work they've done. Remember, Four Horsemen Studios is a design studio, so they do a lot of work for instance, Mattel. If you have Masters of the Universe Classics, Those were done by Forestman Studios. They designed and they sculpted those, but they were produced by Mattel. They've done work for Sideshow, Mattel, NECA, Super 7, Hasbro, you name it, they've done work for them. I think a lot of people do know them. A lot of their toy lines before Mythic didn't really catch on the way that Mythics have. Certainly, Mythics has been their big hit, and it's continuing to grow. So I do think it is well known, but not as well known as some of the big brands like Marvel and G.I. Joe and Transformers. All of those have entertainment properties behind them, and that is why they're so popular. That's my answer to that. Yeah, and then you're asking if they've worked on other toy lines. Yeah, I just mentioned a whole bunch of them. Probably most well-known for their Master Universe classics. Saying you think they need more credit, they get a lot of credit. I mean, I think toy fans tend to know who they are. Okay, so let's look at some LegionsShop stuff. And I'm trying to think where I want to start here. I think the first thing I'm going to show is something that I showed quite a while ago on the show here, and that was the Plague Doctor piece. So this I'm excited about because when I first showed this, I said that this piece was really, really a great example of one of the things I'm super excited about for LegionsShop, and that's being able to partner with multiple artists to create really unique things. This features a custom head that was sculpted by Von Burke Studios. So Brian Burke sculpted this head. It is a LegionsShop exclusive. The soft goods robe on this is by Strupp Family Crafts. So Brenda Strupp created that. Really, really cool because I'm excited that I couldn't really execute on a Plague Doctor with just the head effectively. I really needed the head and I wanted that soft goods coat here. So being able to work with both of them, that was really great. And it allows me kind of as a designer to be able to, art direct this and get these pieces to create something like you see here, and which I have in my hands right here. Love, love, love this piece. The head itself is going to be available both unpainted and it's going to be painted. I actually painted up a number of them for sale, so that's going to be offered. And then the soft goods robe is going to be offered as well. I also did a second version of this head actually just this weekend. I did one that I thought was pretty cool just to show you a different look at what you could get out of that. And that was this one here. So this was a character I called my Plagued Doctor. And, it uses the first one I showed actually uses a Shadow Elf warrior body. This one uses a skeleton body. And I painted it green, so it, looks really, really cool. Kind of looks like the scaphoid figure. I used some of those wings on that, but it gave it a very, very different look. Just another example of how you can use that. Couple questions here. Drew saying, is the hat removable? The hat is not removable. It is all one piece. But Drew, we've had a few people ask that, so I am talking to Brian about maybe doing a version that does not have the hat on there. Another question here from Buki671. Are these available individually as a set or both? They are only available individually. We did not at this point put them together as a set. And we do want to do them individual because we know that there are going to be people that don't want to just create the recipe we have in mind. We offer the painted heads for people that want to do something like that. But one of the great things is you being able to put your spin on that if you want to. So the heads are available separately, unpainted or painted. The coats are available separately. You could also use the coats for other things as well. So that was very, very important. Daniel saying, I'd love a version without the hat. Again, Daniel, we've gotten that request a few times, so we're absolutely going to look into doing that. I will send this to Brian and say, Brian, you need to do this. Yeah, people saying they love that figure. That one I just showed, the Plague Doctor with the wings. I actually did that specifically for promo purposes. And it looked so cool. I painted it like my Ghosts of Caramore. Those are that style of those green bone characters. But I painted it like that. I did end up selling that piece. I got a number of inquiries around that particular figure. So definitely, I almost kept it myself, but I just don't have room for it. Another person saying a version with a hood would be cool as well. Very, very cool. So it would be cool to see all the sculptors use one item and if they all do a different version of it. I know what you're saying, where if we had like a challenge down the road, and maybe we'll do this. If we had a challenge down the road where we said, okay, everyone, we want to do this type of character. We did kind of a design challenge where all these different people all did an orc or a goblin or whatever, or something kind of wacky. Yeah, that might be a lot of fun too. Very, very cool. So love that. Really, really excited for that. Next thing I'm going to show here, another piece that I showed early on that we haven't looked at in a while, is a piece from Detour Customs. So Steven is someone that we are working with, and Steven is a wonderful, wonderful artist. And he's one of the things I'm so excited with him is he's bringing some pieces to the table that are so different than anything else we have, and so different than anything else that I see anyone else offering. Starting with this really cool jousting set, this lance and shield set. I showed this on the show quite some time ago. I had a prototype piece of it that I actually have right here. Really, really cool. Really, really cool piece that he did. It's got a fully wooden shaft with 3D printed kind of add-on pieces. The reality is 3D printing, you really wouldn't want to 3D print something big and long like this. It would just be far too fragile. So I've seen more and more artists start using wood in their creations, and Steven does it better than any. Wonderfully cool piece. Let me bring up that photo again of that jousting set. So this is going to come, and it is actually going to be painted. It's going to come with this lance and that shield. And this is what we call kind of the basic jousting set. Really, really cool. Love that piece. Let me show, I've actually got another photo of it where you can see more of the lance type thing, because that first one I just showed there, you can see more of the shield and less of the lance. So you got this one here, where this one you can see more of that lance, and it's a really, really nice paint job. Works wonderfully well. And now that we have the horses coming, it is going to be so, so cool to pair these up with the horses. Yeah, Daniel, it's really made of wood. It's super, super cool. He weathers the wood and paints it and stains it. It looks absolutely wonderful. Super cool, dude. One thing I do want to mention about Steven and Detour Customs is while he is going to be part of LegionsShop, he also just opened his own store. So check him out. It is detourcustoms.com, and Detour is just the letter D, Tour. So detourcustoms.com. Super, super cool. So he did that lance, but he also did another kind of like wicked, wicked looking lance. Check this one out. This is the second one that we're going to have. And these are both going to be sets that come with the lance and the shield. This is the second one that he did. So this is a much bigger like lance. It's actually not as long. It's shorter, but it's really, really fat. And it's just a wicked, wicked looking lance. Love this one so much. And again, going to look so good. Yeah. P.S. saying red shield soldier with a frog helmet's going to look great with that lance. Absolutely. I totally agree. Check this out. So I put this together to show you. This is my test shot because I said with the horses coming soon, these are going to look great. This is my test shot of Atheon, and I just grabbed a Fury Orc to put him on. But look at how awesome he looks with that lance, with just that big, crazy looking lance there. How cool does that look? I'm telling you, these things are going to be killer on display. These lances are just gorgeous. And this is actually the shield that it's going to be coming with as well. They both come with the same shield, got a great design on it. And then this lance is just absolutely so cool, so wicked. Once again, let me put this down. Wooden shaft here, fully 3D printed pieces that add on to it. It's got some glue in there to make it nice and sturdy. Super, super cool. Yeah, Anthony, it is great. Another thing, the third piece we're going to have from Steven is this absolutely crazy looking sword. And let me show you a better picture of it here because I'm holding it up and I'll show you a better picture. What did I call this? Demon sword. I believe he calls it like the Legion Cleaver. But incredibly cool sword. This photo actually shows a custom head from Steven as well. That head is not at LegionsShop, but that head is available from detourcustoms.com. Looks absolutely wonderful. Tell you what I'm going to do. detourcustoms.com. I just hit it up right there in the chat so you can see that if anyone had any questions about what it was. So very, very cool. Love, love, love this piece. And I got another picture from Steven here that actually shows all of his parts laid out. So you can get a little sense, like especially with the two lances, you can get a bit of a sense of how they look side by side and you know what the actual sizes are on them. So there you go. There's a picture that Steven sent me that lays them all out. So you can see two different shields, two different lances fully painted up. And then the swords are actually not painted. I think they're just primed. They just come black primed. So you can do a little bit of dry brushing on that. You can make a really cool looking sword. Love these. Love working with Steven so far. I think these pieces, I think these lances are going to go quick. Absolutely love these. Someone asking me what my tattoos are of, asking if that's too personal. It's not too personal. I just have a limited amount of time, so I'm going to keep going forward. Maybe I'll talk about my tattoos on another show. Abby saying, seeing that orc on the horse with the lance is just too cool. So stoked for these. I can't agree more. Tell you what, let's give something away. Steven is such a cool dude that to help promote detourcustoms.com and LegionsShop, he reached out to me and he said, Jeremy, I would like to give something away tonight. So what we're going to do is we are going to give away an ogre scale version of that crazy Legion Cleaver type sword. Very cool, right? Steven, super, super cool. He's agreed to give this away. Here's how we're going to do this. Okay, I'm going to ask a trivia question. The first person to give me the right answer in the chat is going to win. Once that person wins, reach out to me after the show, just Facebook Messenger or whatever. I'll put you in touch with Steven so he can get you this prize. Okay? Here is the question. Is everyone ready? LegionsShop is being opened by myself and my friend Joe Viteri. Joe Viteri actually has a Mythic Legions figure that's named after him. That figure is Lord Viteris. Lord Viteris was first available in the Soul Spiller wave, but even before Soul Spiller was actually available in everyone's hands, you could get him early. He was a show debut at what show? I'm not looking for the show, I'm looking for the month, and I'm looking for the year. What show? When was that show? Did Lord Viteris make his debut? First person with the right answer gets it. It was ToyCon, Anthony, but I need to know what the month and year was. It was not LegionsCon or GCon. It was not MuskeeCon. Anthony had it right. It was ToyCon New Jersey, November 2018. Anthony House Seal from the Toy Forge, congratulations. You got this one correct. You are the winner of the Legion Cleaver sword from Detour Customs. Thank you all very much. And thank you so much to Stephen for that donation. So that's the stuff that we have coming from Steven. Super, super excited. And Steven's working on some new things that we're going to be able to offer as well. The next things I want to show you are from my friend Emil Wickman. So Emil Wickman is going to be working with LegionsShop on a number of things. And it actually started really, really funny. The first thing that we talked about, I talked with Emil about offering on the website, is this wonderful piece. This is an art print that Emil did last year that I just absolutely loved. He, in this really fun cartoony style, drew a number of different prominent characters, in Mythic Legions lore. If you look at this, you can see Azar and Zazar, the twin demons at top, Baron Voligar down at the bottom. We've got Attila, Atlas, and Otho. We've got the trio of the skeleton, the ruling family in Malleus, Brother Mandibulus, and Morgulith. There's a number of characters in here. People reached out to Emil and said, wow, this is such a wonderful piece of art. I wish I could get a print of it. So he actually reached out to the Horsemen and said, would you mind if I did this as a print? And they gave him permission to do a very limited number of prints. Emil sold a handful of them himself, and the remaining prints are going to be available exclusively at LegionsShop. This, let me tell you, is the only item I am showing tonight that we will not be restocking. This piece, once it is gone, it is gone. It was a very limited run. We were not allowed to make any more. So once this sells out, it is gone. So this is how Emil started working with us. But then as we started talking to Emil more and more, we realized that he really wanted to offer some of his 3D sculpted heads at the shop. And he's, Emil, like myself, puts a lot of his stuff out through Wolf King Customs, but Wolf King only puts out so much at a time, and Emil has just been a workhorse. He had so many pieces that he's done that haven't made it into a Wolf King sale yet. So he asked me, would you be interested in selling some of these? And boy, were we. We were super excited, and I'm super excited to show you some of these pieces from Emil. So starting, the first ones I'm going to show are these two absolutely awesome orc heads. Not only are these wonderful sculptures from Emil Wickman, these were both printed by Wolf King Customs, and they were painted by two different LegionsShop painters. So the scarred orc on the left was painted by Pete Timon, and the stoic orc on the right was painted by Drew Grubbs, who is joining us here tonight. Two wonderful artists that offered their paint skills as part of LegionsShop's stable of artists. Now, both of these heads are going to be available both painted, like you see here, and unpainted. So if you are a customizer and you want one of these for your own collection and you want to paint it your way, you will have access to these as unpainted pieces as well as the painted ones you see here. Personally, I love that scarred orc. I used that years ago. When I first got it from Emil, I first got a test print, and a test print is nowhere near as well done and detailed and printed well as the one you see in front of you now. But I used that on one of my original Tundra orcs, and I absolutely loved it. So these are two really, really cool pieces that we are going to have from Emil Wickman. We're also going to have a dwarf from Emil. I know there's a lot of dwarf lovers in the room. A lot of people love to build out those dwarf armies. So this is a head that we are going to have from Emil, both painted and unpainted. This painted version is also by Pete Timon. So this particular head may look familiar because a variation of this one was available on was available on Wolf King Customs over the summer, I believe. I'm trying to think when it was actually offered, but I believe it was over the summer. He did a smiling version of this head, which I thought was really, really fun. But this is a more standard version, a more stoic version. Really, really dig this one because the other one is happy. I like to call this one the not so happy dwarf or the once happy dwarf, but it's a great piece. If you're looking to build out that dwarven army, you want some more of those unique heads, it's going to look really, really cool. Daniel saying, I love the idea of a more stoic version of the happy dwarf. Yep, that's exactly what we have here. So the last head I'm going to show that we've got from Emil is one that I think is really interesting as well. There have been a number of people that have done orc skulls over the years. I've seen a few other creators. I have one from Zombie 13 that he actually sculpted by hand and cast. That's really, really cool. Emil wanted to do an orc skull as well, and that's what we're going to have here, this orc skull. Really, really cool piece on its own. But one of the things that I love about this is Emil's attention to detail. And what do I mean by that? Let me show you. So when Emil wanted to do his orc skull, he didn't just want to say, oh, I'm going to design a skull and give it some tusks. He said, I've already designed a bunch of orcs. I want this skull to be a skull from my orcs. So what he did was he started with the orc and he kind of worked backwards from there to create the shapes that he wanted for the orc skull. And you can see that progression here in this photo. To the far left, you can see the normal orc head. And this is that stoic orc head that you just saw painted by Drew Grubbs. We are selling that stoic orc head, and we are selling the orc skull. And you can see that jawline, how the way those teeth are positioned, it's not arbitrary placement. It is actually very, very specific based on the way this orc's, actual structure of his head, his bone structure would be. That kind of attention to detail, I think, is so incredibly wonderful. Really, really happy that we were able to get this piece. Now, this particular piece is going to be offered unpainted in the shop on Saturday. We did get a painter to do some for us painted, but I don't think that they're going to be available in time for Saturday's sale. I do have a picture of it, though, that I will show you. Let me see. I'm just going to find it here. So Stephen Busciatti from the Legions Cast podcast, he's another painter that is going to be doing some work for LegionsShop. And Steve's going to be doing two pieces. On the right here, you can see Lord Stephen's paint job on the Emil orc skull. And then actually on the left, you can see an orc that he painted from another one of our art teams called Immortal Collections. I'm going to talk about Immortal Collections in a few minutes, but right now we're looking at two different pieces here. Both of these, that orc skull I just showed you, and this orc head that's got that wicked nose ring, that kind of septum piercing, those are both going to be available unpainted on Saturday. And in short order, we will have the painted versions from Stephen in hand, and we will be able to offer those as well. Once again, one of the great things about LegionsShop is we are constantly going to be adding new products. So once an artist is done with a piece and it's been approved and it's been created and we have it in hand, we don't have to wait for some, future sale date to make them live. We can just put them on the shop. I've said it before, if you're not signed up for our newsletter, you're definitely going to want to do that because that's the best way to be notified when these new products are going to hit. Okay, so another great artist that we are working with is Vincent Garmer from Dragon Forged Creations. Vincent is a wonderful artist. He has sold on eBay for a while. He's sold on Shapeways in the past, and he does some really cool stuff that's different, once again, than what we've seen previously. He doesn't do a lot of heads or things like that. He does a lot of different things, including some pauldron armor. So let's look at we're going to have 3 different pieces of pauldron armor that are going to be done by Vincent Garmer of Dragon Forge Creations. All of these are going to be offered unpainted, and they are for 2.0 style bodies. So we got 3 really cool, unique style pauldrons. One of the things I always talk about is, as wonderful as it is that Four Horsemen Studios have been able to get so many miles out of their parts library, there's no mistaking that if you've got a large collection, you've got a lot of people that are all wearing similar armor. They are taking care of that in future waves as they're introducing lots of new parts to that library, but we can also jump in right now and do some cool things by adding pieces like this. So these pauldron armor sets are going to be available. Vincent also does some really, really cool diorama style pieces. And I don't mean full dioramas. I mean pieces you can use in your dioramas that you are creating. One of the things that he has created are these 3D printed windows. So both of these are going to be available. On the left, you can see these unpainted, unfilled windows that you could use. And then on the right, we're also going to be offering these fully painted and filled windows. These are filled with a kind of resin that he then goes in and paints. They're absolutely gorgeous. Just like that Sir Ignatius figure that I showed you earlier, that I said photos do not do them justice. Those filled windows, I'm telling you, the photos do not do them justice. If you are building out any kind of diorama pieces, these are absolutely something that you're going to want to consider for those dioramas. Greg saying, do I have any idea how big the windows are? You know what? I actually don't, Greg. I don't have a size on that like right in mind right now, but that's a great question. I'm going to have to get that information. I don't have them in hand myself. They're actually at the warehouse with Joe, but I'll get that information and I'll put that on the LegionsShop website. That's a really good question. Are they sturdy? I mean, they're 3D printed. There are some thin pieces there, so you do need to be kind of careful with them, but they're sturdy enough. You know, any 3D printed pieces are not going to be, it's not like they're metal or, you know, ABS plastic, but really, really cool pieces. And the last piece I want to show from Vincent is super, super cool. Vincent did some really cool chairs, okay? Really neat, 2 different styles. One that he called kind of a basic Gothic and one that's a little bit more elaborate. He did these really cool chairs and they looked so wonderful that we ended up partnering with Dennis Derby, and Dennis decided to paint some of these up for us. So these are just a couple examples of the chairs that we have. The entire first run of these chairs are coming painted. In the future, we will have unpainted ones, but for the first run, we are doing painted chairs. Dennis, being the artist that he is, he took some time and he painted every one of these chairs uniquely. Every one of them, just like real wood, has different patterns on it, different colors. What we are doing is these are being sold pretty much blind bag. So you are going to pick whether you want the basic chair, which the basic chair is the ones you see on the ends, the one you see on the left and the far right. And then the one in the middle is a little more elaborate. You can see it's got kind of those extra pieces. Those are all going to be available for sale, but you're going to get what you get. We're going to send you, depending which chair you buy, you'll get the style chair that you ordered, but you're not going to be able to pick a color because they are all unique. So if you want multiple chairs and you want them all to look alike, I don't actually have 2 that look exactly alike. They're all different. My suggestion would be wait on the chairs for the unpainted and paint them yourself so they all match. But if you want one piece to use as, say, a throne, this is going to be a really cool piece. Dennis absolutely killed them, and Vincent did a wonderful, wonderful job on printing up these chairs. Super excited about these. Dirku asking, are these super limited quantities? Yeah, everything at Legion Shop is going to be somewhat limited. Again, we are going to stock more of these over time, but because we had to get these things in stock, one of the things to remember is, the shop was taking the time to buy these things and stock them. The printers were taking time to do them and to print them and send us stuff that they wanted us to sell for them. So only so much can be done. So we don't have hundreds of these things. We have very small numbers of these. That's why I said some of these things are going to sell quickly, but we're going to continually restock them. So hopefully, like I said, if you miss it, we're going to have them back. That's the whole point. We're not shutting. Once we open for good on Saturday at 3, we're not shutting the doors. We're going to keep this stuff going. Okay, so something that I'm excited for, that's from my own head, is these two pieces. So I said earlier that all the pieces that are going to be sold at Legion Shop are unique, but some of them are variants of pieces that have been sold elsewhere. And both of these you're going to be pretty familiar with. These are variants of things that have been sold elsewhere. So on the left, you have the Evil Wolf Skull Sun Eater head. The version that you see here is one I did for fun that I called the Furious variant. Well, I had a number of people ask me for a red paint job on one, so I decided to offer it as a Legion Shop exclusive. Similarly, on the right, we have the skunk head. This was the Badgerine head that was sold at Wolf King Customs. It was painted like a badger. It was painted like a Wolverine. Those styles will be coming back to Wolf King Customs in the very near future. But additionally, this skunk version will be available fully painted at Legion Shop. Now, both of these are only going to be offered painted because the unpainted versions are available at Wolf King Customs. So if you want either of these heads unpainted, they will be back soon at Wolf King Customs. But in the meantime, these painted versions will be at Legion Shop. Now, a number of people have also asked about the kitsune tail, the fox tails, because you can use those for skunks as well. Those are not going to be available yet. They will be in the future. We are still working on some changes to those tails to make them a little bit lighter. So those will be back both at Wolf King and at Legion Shop soon. Daniel saying, rethinking the Badger as a skunk is so inspired. Thank you very, very much. Dan saying, any thoughts on full custom figures for sale? Yeah, I think we're going to do some of that. I certainly sell full customs, so I may put some stuff up there, but also we are talking to some other artists as well that may want to sell some of their full customs on Legion Shop. So that could be something in the future. It won't be for this Saturday, however. Okay, so Anthony House Seal from Toy Forge is someone I've mentioned multiple times today on the segment, on the show. Anthony is someone who is partnered with us as well, and Anthony has a handful of things that we are going to also be offering. Let me show some of those right now. And I got to find them. I have so many different pieces open here that it's tough to figure out which one's which. Here we go. So this is a set that I'm super excited about that once again is a combination of two different pieces, two different artists. So on the left, you can see that we've got this fun blacksmith type custom, this blacksmith dwarf. That blacksmith apron is another piece that we are going to be offering from Strupp Family Customs. But then on the right, you can see that we've got those really cool forge tools. Those forge tools are what we have done with the Toy Forge appropriately, right? They're called the Toy Forge for a reason. So those really fun pieces are going to be offered both unpainted, and we are going to have them painted. I did a handful of paint jobs on them. Well, I should say I did one paint job on a handful of them. So those are going to be available as well. Really excited about that. Just nice little things that add some cool accessories to your actual display. I think that's going to be fun. These are the type of things that they also act great as little add-on pieces. You know, when you're buying a number of things and you're like, well, it's not really going to change my shipping. So I think I'm going to grab some of these. Really, really dig doing that. excited to be able to offer those. Once again, they're going to be available separately. So you can buy either just the blacksmith apron, just the unpainted forge tools, or just the painted forge tools. Another piece that we have coming from the Toy Forge and from sculptor Travis Canning, who does this sculpture, is this really cool barbarian head. So this barbarian head that you're seeing here was painted by Drew Grubbs. It was sculpted by Travis Canning, printed by the Toy Forge, and this one was painted by Drew Grubbs. So this is going to be available both painted like this, and we are going to have the unpainted version for people that want to paint their own. It's a wonderful looking sculpture. I actually showed this the other day. They had an Adamon figure, and they said, you know what? I really want to change Adamon's head because obviously the Adamon head is a repainted Atlas. And they said, I want to give him something unique. Can we do something? Any suggestions for something different? And I shared this head, and a bunch of people really, really liked it. This is the unpainted version right here. And you can see it's got some long hair in the back. It's got his hair pulled into a ponytail. It's a really, really cool figure. I mean, honestly, if you painted the hair white, this would make a really, really cool Geralt, the Witcher type figure, painted brown, and it doesn't look so much like Geralt. It looks very much like it's a barbarian like we just showed there. So definitely have some flexibility here. Travis did a really, really nice job sculpting this, and the print on it is absolutely wonderful. Super excited about that. Someone's saying there's so much and it's fantastic. Absolutely. And please do not get overwhelmed. If your pockets are hurting, if you're like, there's no way I can afford all of this stuff. Again, that is one of the great things about this stuff being offered, multiple, like evergreen, is if you can't get it Saturday, you can get it another time when you do have the ability to do so. So I think that is very, very important. Okay, moving on here. Another artist that we're going to be working with. We talked about Immortal Collections earlier when we looked at that Ort head that Steven had painted. They also, Tristan and Immortal Collections also did these wonderful goblins. So Immortal Collections is a father-son artistic team. It's Tristan, and honestly, I'm drawing a blank on the father's name. But wonderful, wonderful artists actually reached out to me on this show. Heard me talking about LegionsShop and reached out and said, hey, I'd like some information about LegionsShop. And we ended up having a conversation. I'm super excited to be working with them. These are 3 of the first pieces that they sent us. These 3 goblins, which I, in my brain, call Larry, Moe, and Curly, but they're on the website called Tongue Goblin, Grumpy Goblin, and Gritting Goblin. These are all going to be available unpainted, and they're going to be painted by Pete Timon, just like you see here. They're wonderful pieces, lots of fun details. That Tongue Goblin is just begging to use some of the some paints that you can use to make things look wet. I did a tutorial on my YouTube channel about how to get that wet look on pieces. It just works wonderfully for that. And I've actually got him right here. Really, really fun guy. It's just such a cool looking head. It's got so much personality, that big bulbous nose. Really, really cool. One other piece that we are going to have from Immortal Collections is one I haven't shown here yet, but I think people are really going to dig. And that is this guy right here. Check out this wonderful sculpture. This vampire, also painted by Pete Timon. This is going to be available painted and unpainted as well. It fits on a 2.0 style body. So this is going to be great on any of like the Vampire Knight type figures, or even you could certainly throw this on any of the Shadow Elves and turn them into a vampire. There is so much to love in that sculpture. So many details, so much personality. Just a cool looking piece. I had someone reach out to me after I showed it, on the LegionsShop Instagram page, and was just like, oh my God, that thing is a showstopper. I think this one is going to be one that I'm excited to see a lot of fans get in hand, because we've seen a number of custom vampire heads, right? But we haven't seen one that looks like this. I love the fact that they were able to do something that fits in with Mythic Legions, but is totally different than what we've gotten previously. On the subject of vampires, here, this is going to be my pick for the first sellout of the day. And it is this: the vampire robes from Strupp Family Crafts. These things are absolutely gorgeous. Not going to lie, soft goods are hard for us to stock. Unlike 3D printing, once the sculpture is done, you set that printer to go. And yeah, there's work that has to happen in terms of cleaning and prepping and all that. But the reality is, when it comes to soft goods, every single piece we sell is something that Brenda worked on by hand and spent a lot of time doing. That being the case, it's harder for us to get them back in stock quickly, and it takes a lot of time for her to do them in the first place. These pieces are gorgeous. I showed these on the show a few weeks ago. My idea behind this was a piece that I kind of created, I kind of designed, and then sent my rough sketches to Brenda and Sean at Strupp Family Crafts and said, hey, what do you think about this? And the idea behind this was a way to use the Baron Valigar figure, because with Baron Valigar 2 coming out, I know that I'm going to use that as my Baron Valigar character. And I know a lot of people are going to do the same. So I said, you know what? Now that we've got the old Baron Valigar, what do I do with that? And I really like the idea of turning him into like a vampiric royal guard. And as a kid, I always loved the Emperor's Royal Guard characters from Star Wars Return of the Jedi. They just looked so cool. They were quiet in those red robes with one arm exposed, holding that like little lance staffy type thing. Always just liked that look. So that's what I tried to go for here. Having a black robe that turned him into like a vampiric sentinel, a vampiric royal guard. And even cooler is that symbol that's down the side. And you can use this robe, by the way, on either side. The way it's designed, you can put it on either side, so you can have the two characters side by side like this. Very, very cool. They put this graphic on it. Looks wonderful. It's actually the Alethea graphic. This was meant to be a simplified version of Alethea's form. It's got the 3 different bars to represent the 6 arms that Alethea has. We did reach out to Four Horsemen Studios to say, hey guys, is it okay that we do this? And they were all for it. They gave us their blessing. Someone asked to show how it actually goes on. Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy to. So all that I did here for this was I pulled the head off, and I pulled the neck armor, okay? And all this is it's just the robe. So it's got a little bit of, elastic up top. It's actually not, it's a more cinched, it's not elasticy really. And it's got the slice. So decide what side you want to go on, and I just put it right over. All I do with the pauldron is I just push this down a little bit and put the pauldron in. So the pauldron actually just kind of holds it in place. Like it's just right underneath the robe and back. And it just sits right on top. Just pop that neck armor back on, pop that head back on, and you're good to go. And you've got that nice robe. And you just play around with it to get it to hang the way that you want. Super easy, super, super cool. Okay. See what else I've got. And again, I did promise you a couple sneak peeks at the end here. So let's see, what haven't I shown yet? I'm going to look through all my tabs here and see what I haven't shown. Because I might be at the end. I think, goodness, like that's not enough, right? Like that's not enough that you guys have to all chew on. I think that's everything that I wanted to show that's going to be available on Saturday. I'm going through these one at a time. I'm like, did I miss anything? Did I miss anything? And if I did miss something, My apologies, but I do not believe I did. I think I got it all. So super excited for that. Immortal Collections, Wolf King Customs, Emil Wickman, the Toy Forge, Detour Customs, Von Berg Studios, Brenda Strupp and Strupp Family Crafts, Vincent and Dragon Forged. Thank you. I'm so excited for you deciding to partner with LegionsShop. Once again, this Saturday, 3 p.m., these items will be available for sale. But that does not end the show, or does it end what we have from LegionsShop? We can finally breathe a little easy that we are here. We are at the grand opening. This is something we have worked so hard to get to, but our work doesn't stop because we want to continue bringing you cool stuff. So here's some examples of some things that we have coming. Starting with something you've seen recently on the show, my Kitsune Ninja head. This is the standard ninja. So the ninja commander head that has the lower mask, the Oni Demon lower mask, that was offered very recently on Wolf King Customs. Those are in production now. But this head, that is the regular ninja head, this is going to be available on LegionsShop probably in a few weeks. Okay, I get it. You're like, Jeremy, we've already seen that. We want to see something totally different. Okay, and you're probably sitting there saying, we love dwarves. We want to see dwarves. Show us more dwarves. We don't get enough dwarves. Is that what you guys are saying? You guys want to see some dwarves? Okay, well, how about 3 new dwarves from Emil Wickman? So these are 3 new dwarf heads that we are going to have from Emil Wickman in the coming weeks and months. The one in the middle, remember I just showed you that variation on the Happy Dwarf, the stoic version of the Happy Dwarf? Well, that one in the middle, that is another variation of a previous released dwarf head. So previously, that one was released and it was actually stoic. Now we're going to be releasing it exclusively at LegionsShop as that screaming type look. Super, super cool. And then the other 2 dwarves on the ends there, those are 2 dwarves that are brand new sculptures from Emil. A little tough to see in this photo. The one on the far right has kind of a cool mohawk and a nose ring, but I'm super excited for the one on the left. He's got like a cool leather cap type piece on. I'll tell you what, that is going to be my dwarven blacksmith. I'm going to put that head along with that blacksmith apron from Strupp Family Crafts and those forge tools from the Toy Forge, and that is going to be my dwarven blacksmith. Very, very cool. Once again, these 3 heads will not be available this Saturday. Everything from this point forward, from that ninja we just showed forward, these are all in development. They will be coming to the website in the coming weeks and months. Okay, I mentioned Toy Forge. Check this out. I got a couple sneak peeks from Toy Forge. So in the All-Stars wave that is available right now for pre-order, Vetus, the Mercurian, kind of very Spartan-looking type character, he is available as a pre-order, right? So both Toy Forge with Anthony House Seal and Travis Canning, they decided to do a very, very cool head that would work wonderfully on that head, on that body, on that Vetus body. So this is a Centurion head that they are going to be having coming out. Love this piece here. You can see the rendering all the way to the left, and you can see a couple test prints. Those test prints are on a Fury Hawk, but I think that you can get an idea of what that's going to look like. And I love the fact that they decided, I've seen a couple people doing some different Centurion style heads. I saw a Noble Bear doing one. Wolf King just did one that's a skeleton, and they've done it with the crest that's, similar to the Mercurians. The fact that they went with a different version here that's tied in, I mean, this is a historical looking type piece, gives something totally new, totally different for Mythic Legions. Travis did a wonderful job on this sculpture. Super excited to be able to offer this pretty soon. So look out for this, but also pick up an extra Vetus if you're going to want to be able to do that there. Speaking of Toy Forge, this is another piece that they have coming. And they were looking, because, one of the things, obviously, that we always struggle with is you want to be able to design pieces that can go on figures that are somewhat readily available, which is admittedly hard when it comes to Mythic Legions because stuff sells out pretty quickly. But with Irithyr on the cusp of arriving, it does make sense to start looking at Irithyr pieces and figuring out what we can add to them. I just finished working on a really cool piece that I'm excited for an Irithyr figure, specifically for the Magnus figure. And this one is also for the Magnus figure. So this is not mine. This is another Toy Forge piece that's a collaboration between Travis Canning and Anthony Houseel. This Forge Barbarian, that's what I call it right now. He does have an actual name, but I'm gonna wait to reveal that. But this Forge Barbarian, this is just a fun piece. Obviously, this would look wonderful on any of the bare-chested barbarian figures. Got a very Viking-like look. But if you want to make this character like a fully armored type look, I think it works really, really well on that Magnus body also. Leave this up for a moment so you can check it out. Cool stuff, right? Yeah, I'm telling you, LegionsShop is not slowing down. We have tons and tons of cool stuff that we are bringing to you. These artists, I know what's going to happen is they're working hard. And when they see all of the feedback, when they see everyone start using their pieces, they're going to get even more enthused and they are going to want to hit it even harder. So everyone who supports all of the artists this coming Saturday, thank you so much in advance. You're quite honestly the reason we do it. I'll leave you with one more piece that I'm excited to show. This is a set that's going to be coming courtesy of Wolf King Customs. This is something that Len and Wolf King showed on this show, actually, during our holiday special. This is another example of a piece that's been ready for a while that just has never had a chance to get produced. It's just never made it into a sale. So this piece is going to be offered at LegionsShop. He calls this Fish Sticks, which is a pretty fun name, but it's going to be available. It's going to be an unpainted head that you can buy. I'm also going to paint up some of these heads. And in addition, the heads are going to be available separately. But in addition, he's also going to sell a full set that's going to come with the head, a pair of custom hands, and that cool fish-like tail. It's a really, really fun piece that I'm excited to get out there as well. I actually have it right here. This is actually the custom in that photo. You can see I'll pull the head off. It's a really fun head. It's got these like fish gills in back of it. Just creepy looking, kind of merman looking character. Put this right on a thump body. Love this thing on a thump body. This has actually got the hands and the tail as well. This is a tail that he designed. It was one of the first pieces he designed that I had back in my bin of 3D printed parts. And I threw it on this custom and it just worked really, really well. So Fish Sticks is yet another custom piece, custom set that we will have eventually at LegionsShop. That's what I've got for you. Yeah, Anthony's saying very Savage Dragon-like. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that that comparison there. So that is what I have for you tonight. That is LegionsShop. Once again, thank you to everyone who has shown love for the shop so far, everyone that supported it, and everyone who's going to support it Saturday and going forward. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. We are going to do our best to earn your business, to make it a fun place to shop. Stuff is going to sell out this weekend. I absolutely know stuff's going to sell out. We only had so much that we could get, but we are going to work as hard as we can to get anything that sells out back in stock so we can help meet your Legions needs. www.legionsshop.com. So you got the two S's in the middle there. If you only do one S, you go to a website that I think makes leather belts. If it's leather belts, it's clearly not us. If it's got figures and Mythic Legion stuff, you know you're at the right place. Very, very cool. So with that, I'm pretty much done for the night. It's 9:04. I've got a few more minutes. If anyone has any questions for me, anyone wants me to talk about anything specifically, I'm happy to do so. PS saying there was the foxtail. I don't know if you're asking where was the foxtail. Yeah, I meant it earlier. Oh, I get it. Okay, I read back a little bit. Someone saying, is that the first 3D printed tail? And someone else said, no, there was the foxtail. Yeah, I got it. I followed now. The second comment didn't make sense if I didn't read the first comment. Greg saying, we need some bearded ladies. Actually, Walter DeMarco of Mass Customs, who I work with all the time, and actually I should have given him credit. The wolf head and the badger head the skunk head that I showed, those are both sculpted by Walter of Mass Customs. He did a female dwarf head that I love, and he did a bearded version and an unbearded version. I'm not in the camp of bearded dwarves. I don't like my ladies with beards, dwarves or not. So I get some people really dig that. It's never been my thing. Very cool. Curtis saying, I think you were going to do an in-stock sale reveal. I will say this. You heard it here. Tomorrow, a little bird told me that tomorrow there's going to be a big reveal on the Four Horsemen website. Lewis saying we could use some more female heads in general. I'll be honest with you. I don't have any female heads, I think, that are in development for LegionsShop, but I know there's a couple female heads in development for Wolf King Customs, including one I helped design. So my Secrets of the Lamp series that are like the genie characters, that was just part of the recent Wolf King sale, which, by the way, everyone who supported the recent Wolf King sale and who bought stuff from those artists, including my genie parts, my wolves, my genie parts, my kitsune ninjas, and my rabbits. Thank you so much. That was absolutely awesome. I appreciate it so much. But the first release in the Secrets of the Lamp line was the genie with the turban on. The second one is actually a female assassin that very much looks like a harem girl type character. Like she's got the veil in front of her face. I haven't shown that anywhere yet, but super, super cool piece. So I know that's coming. I know there's, like I said, a few other female heads that Len's been working on. So I agree. There's not a lot of female heads out there. Planetary Dog Toys does a really good job with that. Julie recently was showing some cool female dwarves and some other female like elves and stuff that they've done. Really, really good stuff there. Check them out if you haven't previously. What do I think of the adapters by Headhunter Customs? The one that allow you to use Master of the Universe Origin legs? I wouldn't use it. I mean, I think it's cool that he designed something that you can do that with. I think that the Origin legs look so wildly different from Legions that it's not something I would personally ever do. So from an engineering standpoint, I think it's really, really cool. It's just not for me personally, but good job. I mean, if people are into that, I think anything that helps them create something that they want to create is a cool idea. Do any of the dwarf heads come in ogre scale? No, but that doesn't mean they can't. That's probably been the first time I've been asked that. That screaming one, I could absolutely see an ogre scale on like a big, like as a different head, maybe for like a Balthal the Tower type character. Good question. Certainly something I'll look into. See what else we got. Someone just randomly saying Cosmic Legions. Yeah. It's called LegionsShop, not Mythic LegionsShop. Trust me. It's called Legions Con, not Mythic Legions Con. Those are all intentional reasons. Cosmic is going to hit, and it's going to be huge, and we're going to be there. Greg, I'm with you, buddy. Cosmic Moose, I'm all about that. Okay, so I caught up there. Now I'm going to go back down and see what some of the questions here. Yeah, Planetary, Drew saying Planetary has dwarf looking ogre heads. I agree. Really nice ones too. I've used them a number of times. Curtis saying we need the Princess of the Frog custom for sale on Legion Shop. I'm telling you, I'm not selling that one. That one's staying in my collection. Stoked for the Lance and Shield. Do you know what their price will be? They're $40. So the set, either one, they're both the same price. Either one you want, either the full lance, the regular jousting lance, or the more wicked one. They do come fully painted, and they're only offered fully painted. And they come with, let me grab the shield. I gotta get it off the horse. Okay. My Atheon horse. And this is the shield. And I actually did show this, but it's worth showing. The back of the shield, this is a really nicely engineered piece. So it's actually got the like a plastic, an elastic type band that goes around two pieces here, and then this goes in the hand. So the arm actually slides through the plastic, and then the hand grips the piece here. Really, really nice piece. So for $40, you will get the fully painted shield and one of the two fully painted lances. I guarantee you, when you get this in hand, you're gonna say, "Wow!" It's heavy. It's a lot of resin. It's a lot of detail. It's really a really nice piece. I like them both differently. Like I showed this one with the orc today because it was appropriate, but this one with that Templar, or like someone said with that red shield soldier with that frog helmet, put this that brown horse Balius with a red shield soldier, and this lance is going to be absolutely hot. Love that. Cool. Rosedale saying we need someone to make bat wings for the vampires. Four Horsemen have done it. So there are actually in the Irithyr wave, there's both the blue and the red demon wings, and they've kind of made them bat wings with the Varg figure. So in the Alithia wave, you could buy the Varg wings, or you could buy them just as white wings, just by themselves, I should say. One other thing I should point out too, before I forget, obviously we're focused on the Legion shop opening on Saturday, but Saturday is also the end of the in-stock sale, not the in-stock, the end of the pre-order period for All-Stars 4. So this is not going to be extended. I've been saying this so much, and I know there's still going to be people on Saturday that say, I was expecting it to be extended. It will not be extended, okay? It is going to end this Saturday, April 3rd at 9 p.m. Eastern. That is when the storehorseman.com sale for All Stars 4, the pre-order sale, ends. Okay, so be aware of that. Now, after that period, obviously, that's when the retailers start offering them. That's when all the third-party retailers will start being able to sell them. They will be available on Legion Shop. So if you've pre-ordered from us, like I said, a bunch of people have pre-ordered Alithia. Thank you so much. If you want to pre-order any extra All-Stars 4, we will have those up as well. That's what I've got for tonight. I'm super, super excited for this week. I'm super excited for people getting these in hand. And my one thing I will ask you is, if you get any of these pieces, when you get them in hand and you use them and you take photos, tag Legion Shop, but more importantly, tag the artists. That's why so many of these artists do it. I got to tell you, none of us are getting rich doing this. None of us are getting rich selling 3D printed heads or painted anything, or even Mythic Legions figures that are $200. None of us are getting rich on that. We do this because we love the line, we love the community, we love the creativity. So all of these artists, if you use one of these parts, give them a tag, whether it's on Instagram, whether it's on the Cabal. That exposes a wider audience, not only to Legion Shop, but to these wonderful artists. And that is a huge part of our job at Legion Shop, is to get more exposure for these wonderful creators. So with that, I'm going to call it an evening. One more time, LegionsShop.com this Saturday. As far as Mythic Conversations, I will be back here next week. Same Mythic time, same Mythic channel. Until then, keep it positive this week. If you don't get what you want from the in-stock sale, if you don't get what you want from Legion Shop, keep it positive. You'll have another chance. I'll talk to you soon.